cannot be shiny.
What do I do?
He said, don't buy the shiny metals, but metal's shiny.
Welcome to the virtual compound. Well, we're headed into the holiday season, and the last couple of episodes were about Nutcracker. We're now going to share the best tips and details on one special event that is very close to our hearts, and only a little bit related to dance in the loosest way. The Marine Corps birthday ball, as I start my dance. In Maryland, it is apparently freezing, according to Lacey, who writes our prompts for the morning. She's not entirely wrong. It is actually 42 degrees, and it was 39. It was 39 degrees like 15 minutes ago. It is 9:05 a.m. on Wednesday.
I'm Amelia. In Okinawa, it is Wednesday at 10:05 p.m.
And it's Wednesday morning and 6:05 a.m. here in Southern California. It's super dark. I don't like it. As Katie mentioned, we're talking about the Marine Corps birthday ball and some things that we've learned in our roughly 50 years combined experience. 50
Nope.
years, y'all.
I don't like
We
it.
have 50 years combined
I
experience.
don't like it. I don't like it. What?
Someone called me a seasoned spouse the other day, and I was like, what? And then I was like, oh crap.
Right?
I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
Like our when people are like the salty Marine spouse when we're like really young, we're like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, wait, how long have I been doing this? Yeah, no,
Yep.
you're right. You're right.
It's crazy. I was thinking about that this morning, just like age and how I don't feel like super old, but my husband literally just retired 23 years in the Marine Corps. And I'm like, we were together for 21 of those 23 years of the Marine Corps, like 21 years of my life. So more than half of my life
Yeah.
has been consumed by the Marine Corps and all things Marine Corps. And I've had to share my birthday many times with the birthday ball. So let's get into talking about like what the Marine Corps birthday ball is. It's the celebration of the establishment of the Marine Corps. So like all branches have their own ball, but maybe it's because I associate with Marines and I'm associated with the Marine Corps as a spouse, but I feel like it's always so much bigger and made a bigger deal by literally every service member I know. Like even
Other services.
Navy Navy, Air Force, whatever, they'll like, oh, here we go again. We know it's November. The Marines are coming out. Like it's almost birthday season, but you never see it the other way around. And so I've only been to the Marine Corps ball, but let's talk about, because I don't know about you, Katie, but I know Amelia's been to the Air Force ball. There's some drastic differences there, but like what makes the Marine Corps ball unique? Like I have my own reasons that it's unique, but it's because I've only been to the Marine Corps ball. So let's like talk about like the difference and why the Marine Corps ball is unique compared to your experience with the Air Force.
Literally the only thing I can contribute to this, so I'm going to say it first just because it's the only thing I can do, is that not everyone is allowed and able to get to the Air Force ball. And that's a big difference with the Marine Corps ball because it is actually mandated that all active duty Marines celebrate the birthday. It's written in there. They must celebrate it. And so even if their spouses can't come because there aren't enough tickets, they have to figure out a way to get all Marines who are active in a unit to the birthday ball. And that is not the case with literally any other branch.
Right.
And I find that very interesting.
There are certain
it's their
things
appointed
like
place of duty.
Yes. There are certain things like they might be on duty or they might there are sometimes they're on leave during their unit's ball. They're expected to go to another one. Sometimes people who are Marines that hate going to balls can avoid that. Like my husband, now that he's out of the Marine Corps, I can say it.
So I've been to two Air Force balls, both here in Okinawa. So I don't know if they're different in the States, but it was really interesting because they just like put tickets on sale and then you buy them. And it was like, oh, if you go, you go. And if you don't, you don't. Which like kind of circling back to what we were saying, like the Marine Corps ball is Marines appointed place of duty. It is not optional unless they are on leave or they are sick or that like something like that. They must go, and there's almost no way to get out of it. Or like it's like you can have, I can't say almost no way. You need to finagle out of it. So like the Air Force Ball, you can just like buy tickets and go if you want. And that was the first like super strange thing. And then the other thing was like there isn't a ceremony really. Like the Marines have this very, which we'll get into, this very like detailed step by step, like first this, then this, and this ceremony. And with the Air Force, it was more like there's a speaker and they talk about why can't I remember the name because it's 10 o'clock at night, that's why I can't. The table for the fallen soldiers. They talk about that, the fallen like service members. And they bring the flags in, you sing the Air Force song and the national anthem, and they bring the flags up. And that's it. Like that's it. There's nothing else.
Well,
there's
no
then. Cake cutting, there's nothing, which we'll get into. And then
wait, they don't do a cake even?
No.
Well, they probably have cake, but not the ceremony.
No, they don't have cake. They have a dessert. Like
that's lame.
There wasn't even cake.
But then it's not really a birthday,
right? I'm like, then it's just a party, which is fine. But like,
there was the big difference that was awesome was in the Air Force because their uniform is like a white like button-up shirt and then like a blue jacket, and it looks kind of like a maitre d, like a suit jacket almost. Like it almost looks like a blue tuxedo what they're wearing. Well, Marines are not allowed to take their jackets off at all, and the Air Force are allowed to take their jackets off. And like the first time I saw them take their jackets off, I was like, "What's happening?" Someone dying? Like, I didn't know you were allowed to take that
right?
off.
Like, are you getting ready to do CPR on someone?
Shirt that no one sees,
Yeah.
And they are allowed to, with the white shirt that they wear underneath, I can't remember what they're called. There's some sort of something sleeve, but the sleeves of the white shirt, they get like custom made, and they put like, they're like college or like their football team, or if they're pilots, like the plane that they fly, like, or like their favorite colors or whatever on their sleeves. Oh, what are they called?
I didn't know anything about that until it popped up on like Instagram or Facebook right before the last birthday, just because the birthday was just, recently.
September 18th.
Okay. Yes. So that like right around there, Facebook was like, oh, you might need to be buying these shirts. And I was like, what? What is this nonsense?
Okay, so party sleeves. And like, I was fascinated. I was like, this is so cool. But that's also from the perspective of someone who's like, my husband loses these shirts like every year. Every year we buy one of these shirts, and they are $50 to $100 depending on what uniform you're buying. And it fills me with rage because you never see these shirts under their jackets unless you're in the field grade mess dress. But even then you see about like yay much of the shirt,
like 12 inches.
And I'm just like,
the only time I ever got to see Wyatt in white pants and his shirt was actually at a wedding because he wasn't in official like ceremony, so he got to take off his jacket then afterwards. But that's it. I never got to see the shirt.
I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Like, this is so cool. This is such a cool tradition that they like wear. They have their big customized party sleeves, and they do like a party sleeve like contest. I don't know if that was just a Kadena thing or whatever, but at the one I went to, the two I went to, they did party sleeve contests, and I thought that was super cool, and like kind of like personal or whatever, and that was neat. And then like the other thing that was neat was, and apparently I've heard tell from my Air Force friends. Don't come at me if this isn't true, but this is what I was told. Okay, so secondhand. So here in Okinawa, they had performers, like while you're eating. So they had like ASA drummers and the Shisha dogs and like performers
Nice.
while you're eating. And at Marine Corps balls, we do no such thing. There are no performers, and you sit there and make awkward conversation unless you know the people at your party at your
Yes.
table, and you freeze your butt off because the rooms are always cold.
Always cold.
Or at least all the rooms I've been in are always cold. So there's that, and they like it was fantastic. They had performers, and I was like, oh, it's like dinner and a show. And they yeah, there wasn't a lot of like pomp and circumstance, and it really kind of felt more like a celebration. And then this past year, I didn't go to the Air Force Ball, but uh, my friend did, and she was like, they had a singing contest,
Like during dinner?
like all throughout the night.
Oh my God. Of anybody who wanted to get up and sing? Or was it like
Yeah,
people they brought in?
So,
I don't really
It,
know, but she's like, it was a singing contest, and they did like a singing contest all throughout the night.
oh my gosh.
so
And
later it got, the better it got.
Right.
yeah, and the whole reason she was telling me this was because like they went with they went with like a group, but someone in the group was Marine, and apparently he turned to her at some point in time and went, the Marines would never. They would
Never.
never,
No.
never. And like for good, ill, or indifferent, it is what it is. But like
Okay.
I just remember
Can you
both
guys?
times at the Air Force Ball, I was like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Like, and it was just like,
Yeah,
it was like a
totally.
party. It
Yeah.
really, more than the birthday ball, it felt like a party.
Huh.
More than like a ceremony,
Right.
Yeah.
That's very
which was
interesting.
cool. Yeah, so it did. It felt very party and less ceremony.
Ceremony.
Yeah.
Eh.
I think it's the biggest difference. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like, don't conform to Air Force
Right.
people. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It just, that was the biggest difference that I noticed.
Right.
Yeah. But he hates the Marine Corps ball. I personally love it. And that I think might be because that was my first foray into this lifestyle. That was the night my husband proposed, was our first ball.
Aw, I love
And
that.
and it was super fun every year because of like his height and like I don't know why, but he's almost always tasked with ceremony duty and he has to partake if he's there. I think there's been in our 21 years he's there have been two balls that we have attended that he has not done ceremony. Actually, yeah, no, two. And he hates it. And he hates it every time. But every ball is different. And I would say that we didn't go when we were in DC. We had really young kids and no sitters. And we've attended a few here. The ones in Okinawa were far more like celebratory towards the end with like the young Marines. But there were two here that were really amazing. One specifically, and I guess we'll talk about what it entails because this kind of feeds into that. So you start with the drinks before the ceremony begins, and you
Yeah, so
have
you
like
have
the drinks and
cocktail hour and picture
thank you.
taking. Yeah.
Yes. And then everyone goes in and finds their seat at their table. Usually it's with your unit or people of similar rank.
Which
And
is
then,
designated for you, so you don't just wander around and pick a
yes,
random seat. Don't take the general
yeah,
spot. That's a bad idea.
no, yeah, you're assigned. And then they bring in a flag presentation where it's the presentation of the colors, and then they have that's when we sing the Marine Corps hymn, isn't it?
After they make it in there, like not while it's moving, because they have to be at
Right,
attention. Yeah. So
right. So when they bring it in,
for those who are totally oblivious, not oblivious, I'm sorry, that's not the right way. For those who are unrelated to military in any way, this is not just like we're walking in with the flags. This is like everybody must stand at complete attention. And I mean, when Amelia said ceremony, it is ceremony, but this is the Marine Corps does things by tradition, and this is what I think is arguably one of the coolest parts about the Marine Corps and their traditions is like how much they like put into this and making it like meaningful. Because even down to the youngest, the salty Marines and the young Marines. The youngest Marines may not completely understand yet, but then they'll see these other Marines who just blow everything off, but they don't blow off this ceremony. And I feel like that's one of the cool parts of it.
Yeah, so the pomp and circumstance I think is like the coolest part, really, because you don't get to see it very often. Anyway, after that, you have an opening prayer by one of the chaplains, and then the commandant's birthday message and your speakers. And then you'll have a presentation of some sort. That could be a speaker, it could be an honored guest, whatever. And one year, man, I ran. I should not have done that. Okay,
I know.
can't breathe. Baby's pushing on my lungs. All right.
Right, and you're sitting down, so you're really
Yeah,
compressed.
I know. So one year we had at this ball, it was freaking amazing. They had a pageant essentially of every uniform from the beginning of the Marine Corps. They had Marines walk out in full attire, like the leather neck, everything from the origin.
Oh, that
And
is
then once women were allowed to join, the women started coming too. And so they had both uniforms.
that
And
is
it was
awesome.
so amazing. It was stupid good. And you're like watching the stage and you're like watching them. And then the lights go really dim. And then you get to the World War
2?
II era. And they like the lights come back on and there's like fog machine. And they were posed in the flag raising of Iwo Jima in like proper attire and
Oh
everything.
my
And just kind of
gosh.
like posed. And it like I still get chills thinking about it because it was just the
I
coolest
I just got goosebumps
ceremony.
like
So cool.
Yeah,
imagining that. That
it
is
was
so
it was
cool.
amazing. And like they were giving like a detailed history of the Marine Corps and they talked about the uniforms and even some of like the elements and what made it really special. And then they continued on. But that has stuck with me because it was so original, so unique, and so special. And
Yeah.
there's nothing like celebrating the Marine Corps birthday with Marines. They're literally I could um quote Eleanor Roosevelt all day. They're my favorite group of people. They really
Mhm.
are. She says, the Marines I've seen around the world have the cleanest bodies, the filthiest minds, the highest morale, the lowest morals of any group of animals I have ever seen. Thank God for the United States Marine Corps. And like,
Rah.
yes, yeah, exactly. It's like, yes, they're my favorite. Like just, they're amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so celebrating their birthday, if you ever get a chance to go, like we took our friends with us last year for our last ball, and it was so fun to share that with them because they're civilian. They haven't had anything like that. And so it was just super cool to like see it through their eyes too.
Yeah.
Um, so then after they do this somewhat of a presentation, they bring out the cake because we have a cake cutting ceremony, and it is the youngest Marine in attendance
Oh,
who I believe last year was younger than our oldest child,
yeah.
which is wild.
The groans when they announce, so they don't just say that they're this year old. They say what year they
Yeah,
were born, and the
their exact
groans,
birthday.
yeah, their
Yeah.
groans are just like hysterical. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we could
Like
set it
it's
up right now.
painful.
Yes, it is painful because we know count back 17, 18 years from now and we're gonna like know what it is, but hearing it and seeing them, it's different.
Yeah,
It's different.
because like it doesn't feel like it's been 20 years that I've been married to a Marine in the Marine Corps, but
Well, even that
I
it's
have a child older.
even that it's
Like
been
that's the
24,
weird part.
right? But even that it's been
Hmm.
24 years since Y2K. Like, does it really
Yeah,
feel like it's been that long? No.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, you have the oldest and the youngest. They cut the cake with their swords, and then they present the cake to the youngest, and then he presents it to the oldest. And
They talk
they
about
do
it
it.
Oldest to the youngest.
through the whole thing.
Yeah, they oldest to youngest. There you go. And it's like the passing of the knowledge, the experience, the things. And then they retire the flags in another ceremony, and then you start dinner,
Oh,
and you eat.
sometimes though, right there is where they'll do the unit video, like as you're getting ready to start. So, like some
Oh,
units will put together their own video to represent what they've done in the last year, and
I've
they'll
never seen that. That's cool.
so not Mag, they did something too, but the Mew. the Mew did that the 31st, and it was really cool because they had, they'd been able to be out on ship, and so they had all these like flyovers and they set it up, and it was
Hmm.
a very, very cool video. You can find a lot of these on YouTube. If anybody wants to go, you can find the commandant's messages, and you can find a lot of these like unit videos.
Well, and if you want to go look at something really cool on YouTube, okay, related to the birthday, every year I share it because it's my favorite version of the Marine Corps hymn. It's Madison Rising, and it has an introduction by Arlie Army, who was the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket and an actor, but
Mm,
he was an actual Marine, and he does the Happy Birthday message, and then it's Madison Rising, and they do their version of the Marine Corps hymn, and it's a special and unique. Like, I'm going to listen to this like on repeat while I work out. Like, this is so good. I love it.
right.
It's one of my kids' favorite songs. And she's like, yeah, this is my favorite song. And anyway, but it was filmed primarily on Camp Hansen back
Mm,
in 2014 or 15.
I didn't
Yeah.
know
Um,
that.
yeah, on Okinawa. Yeah. Back when we had concerts there by, lots of people all the time. Anyway, so you want to go look up stuff like that. There are videos on YouTube. And then you have dinner, dancing, and the dancing gets real fun. It it was better, like it was really good when we were in Okinawa. I think the dancing and the DJs, like even though we have limited resources, the DJs I feel in Okinawa were far better. Like last year, they literally only played Latin music, which was fine. But like in the last 5 or 6 years, I haven't been to a ball where they've played like one slow song for couples.
Hmm.
And like
Yeah.
most of the Marines are like, it's fine. It's for the young Marines to have a good time with their friends. But it was all like TikTok music in Latin. And so it was like nobody could really dance to that except for like the TikTok dances and just like doing like the
The
club
bouncing
thing
and
in the
yeah.
center. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that there seems to be a push recently, even on the chatter on the like spouses page, the officer spouses page, where it's like this is for the young Marines. I'm like, but it's not. And you also like
Yeah.
not only, and you have to remember your husbands are Marines, and some of them are going to tell you they don't want to get out there, but some of them still want to get out there. They are still
Yeah.
Marines. Like, but
Yeah.
that there has been, I
Well,
think in Okinawa, part of it was because, especially during COVID, there was nowhere else they could go. Like our ball was on
yeah.
Hanson and they weren't allowed out in Kin at the time. Um,
Hmm.
and so they were trying to give them as much of like what they were missing, what they couldn't get
Yeah.
to as possible. Um,
Yeah.
I
I
think that was
think
part of it.
2014, ours was on Hanson. We had 2 years in a row on Hanson, but 2014, I think, was my favorite. Um, and like I had these killer 7-inch heels. They were so pretty. And I refused to take them off to dance. And they did like line dancing to Copperhead Road. And I was like, I love this song. This is a line dance. And I had imbibed a little bit, and we'll get into that. And you know what? It was so fun. I found out that night after imbibing, I could totally sound like Alicia Keys. This girl's on fire.
Because of course you
Um,
can, but
it's phenomenal.
yeah, but only
But
on
the
the birthday ball.
dancing,
Only on the birthday ball.
exactly. Only then. And you know, after all that. But I think my husband's always like, all right, we'll stay around for a little bit longer, see if they play a slow song. Cause he's like, yeah, I'll dance with you, but I don't like fast dance. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But let's like transition this because dancing, now that we're at the dancing part, is something you really, really have to consider when picking your dress
Yes.
for the women. Because here's why. Like, yes, there are plenty of women who like to dress very sexy and scantily. And you know what? You got to flaunt it. You want to do it. That's fine. If your Marine feels like that's a respectable attire for you to wear and they feel that that's okay, then go for it. But I will caution you with the low cuts or the strapless or the high slits, do everything you can to avoid a Janet Jackson or Britney moment because I have seen these things occur and Marines see it and your Marines higher ups are there
Hmm.
and that does reflect poorly on them. That is something because this is all about tradition that
Yeah.
is so incredibly important to consider when
Yeah.
you're picking out your dress.
Yeah. So one of the things, they are not there to work, but a boss has a hard time turning off being a boss when they are still responsible
Still
for
at work.
they're still responsible for every
But they're
person in
still at
that
work
building.
because it's your appointed place of duty. Like you are
Yes.
100% still at work.
Yeah. So it is important, like especially if you are just a date or you know someone who is just bringing a date and they're not, which is fine. That's totally fine. But the point is sometimes those last minute dates have no idea and they're like, oh, I'm going to wear my prom dress because they're
Hmm.
18. Their prom dress may have been one of those things that it's like two pieces or giant cuts out, like cutouts on the side and is not considered appropriate, really. Like it's one
Yeah.
of those things if you need to ask the Marine, is this, are you okay with this? Because
Hmm.
they may, especially if they're waiting for, if they've just, it happens, if they've just gotten themselves in trouble or there's some like review happening or they're trying to do something, whatever, they may have more feelings on this simply because they don't want it to reflect on them. And it will. It will reflect
Yeah.
on them.
Well, because you're a representation of them. Think about that. But there are plenty of resources you can go to, and we can talk about that later, of like finding something appropriate to wear to the ball. And usually, honestly, it's not the revealing dresses that catch my eye. I just I don't find them as appealing myself. But let's talk a little bit then about what the service member wears because there are differences in uniform. And since my husband started out, I'll start it since he started out enlisted. They have a different uniform. The enlisted Marines have a different uniform than the officers, and they receive so they've moved up 3 times in rank since boot camp. They received what's called the blood stripe, and that's what you see on every standard Marine Corps uniform on all Marines. It's the blue paint with the red stripe down the side. Before that, they don't get the red stripe. And then I've never seen my husband in the white pants once he became an officer.
Once,
He had the white pants. Yeah,
one time.
it's their spring
The
pant.
white
I've never
pants are
seen
for
him in
his
them.
summer.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I've never seen him in
Everyone
those.
has them.
Yeah.
I'm talking about that. Officers don't have red piping on their black dress blue jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
And then they
difference in uniform.
also, and then there's something, oh, and then their cover is different.
hmm One of the bigger things to remember that most people see every day when you see the Marine, you see the enlisted Marine dress blues. So like
Yes.
anytime you see the if you want to know what they're wearing, it's what they wear in the promotional ads
Videos.
and posters. That's the enlisted Marine Corps, but oftentimes they may be wearing the white pants or they're wearing the blue. They change to blue when they go from sleeves up to sleeves down. They must start wearing the blue pant. When they go from sleeves down to sleeves up, they can start wearing the white pants. The birthday is always after sleeves down, so you'll never see them at a birthday ball in that situation. And then when you go from enlisted to company, grade officer. So that would be your second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain. Hold on, timer went off. Theirs is different from enlisted in that their jacket is like black. They don't have the red piping. Um,
On the jacket.
on the jacket,
Right.
correct. The jacket does not have that cool red outline that you can see. It's just solid. They have a different cover, which is their hat. The officers have a different cover. It looks very similar, but they have a quatrefoil on top that is white, not gold. And then they they don't have their rank on the sides of their arms
Correct.
like the enlisteds do. They have their rank on the
Don't they have
sides.
different buttons too? Don't they have
They're
silver buttons with the
no,
Eagle Globe and Anchor?
they're still gold, but
They
they
are
are a
gold.
little bit different. And then they
Yeah.
just wear their ranks on their shoulders. Like that's
Yes.
in the pin form, not in
Yes.
the other forms.
Patch? Patch?
Yeah, it's not.
Embroidered patch? Yeah.
They are embroidered patches, and then
Yeah.
sometimes in all of them, you're going to see them wearing their ribbons or medals, depending on where they're going for the birthday ball. They have to wear their medals, but
And
some
ribbons if they don't have a medal for the ribbon.
right. Um, and then you're going to see sometimes extra
Badges.
awards and badges depending
Yeah.
on who they are currently stationed with or not stationed, a part of the unit, or if they've gotten different not certifications.
Qualifications.
They'll have different
Yeah.
badges.
All of this is just ridiculous information that we require.
The swords are not something they wear all
their
the
belt
time.
changes colors.
Their belt just, yes.
Yeah.
And then that will depend on if they have to wear their Sam Brown belt or not, which is the belt that then goes across the chest and helps them wear their swords. But swords are only for the ceremony, so like anybody who's just attending doesn't have to wear the sword. Those are the primary differences with the company grade, and Amelia will tell you about the field grade.
In Afghanistan, he said it was strongly suggested to me that I get mess dressed. And I was like, okay. So you, knowing absolutely nothing about the Marine Corps, go to the Marine Corps shop where you buy the things for the Marine Corps. And he gives you a list of things that you need to buy. And you buy the list of things, and it's a lot of things. Because did you know that with mess dress, it's new everything. I thought finally we're going to see the $100 white shirt that we never ever see in the dress blues. No, it's a different shirt. It's a different shirt with the poofy sleeves that you also don't see.
Except for like this much.
Well, you see more of it.
You see like 6 inches of it.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Okay, so you go and you buy this stuff, and you're thinking like, $200-300, right? Nay. Like $2,000 worth of stuff that you need, because in dress blues you have blue pants with a red stripe, and in mess dress you have black pants with a red stripe. And dress blues for officers are a black solid woolen jacket with a collar that goes up to here, and it buttons from the bottom all the way up, and it has a black belt that wraps around. The mess dress jacket, I have been told, I cannot say firsthand experience because I do not wear this thing, is more comfortable because the collar is a little looser. It's not so tight. It's lower. And it's like the best way to describe it's like a matador. Because the first few things button, and then it cuts away and opens. So you can see a little tiny bit of the shirt. And then they wear a red cummerbund. And this is only for field grade. And then they get a new hat, and they have the little white thing on top of the hat. And now they get a special little golden thing that my husband said is known as scrambled eggs. Like, that's what they call it. They get the scrambled eggs on the black rim of their hat.
It does kind of look like scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs, obviously. But apparently it sort of looks like scrambled eggs on top of your hat. And that is the uniform for mess dress. Yeah. It is apparently more comfortable. And I will not go into my Marine Corps uniform rant. I will spare you all.
If you want to get all geeked out, go look up the sketches of what their full uniforms can look like, because you're going to see all these pieces that you're never going to see on them. They have a cape. They have all of this stuff that's available, and they never get them. The women.
Well,
I was just going to talk about the female dress for a second.
It's like the men, but they wear a skirt.
They wear a skirt
or pants.
Yeah, they have a couple options. They're not much different. They have a pencil skirt, a long skirt, and pants. But essentially everything else is the same.
Whoever designed the dress blue uniform, thank God for them. Like, that's the pinnacle of perfection across all branches of uniforms. And so I never notice anyone else. I never noticed the female Marines. My husband, just in that, dress blues are the best.
Yes.
So there is etiquette and like a specific way to conduct yourself. Like, you're going to a formal dinner when you go to a birthday ball. So, there are multiple forks on the table. There are multiple plates on the table. There are multiple place settings on the table. Make sure you brush up on proper etiquette. Work your way in with the silverware. Um, Conduct yourself in a sophisticated manner. If you're going to imbibe, do so responsibly. Try
Or
not to get sloppy because
make
we go
sure that,
back to
yeah, make sure that you have somebody else that will take care of you, or you take
there's
care of your
that.
Marine, and that it's
Yeah.
somebody you will actually respect if you get to that point, because otherwise it's not going to end well.
Yeah, but it's also you represent the Marine and you don't want to get sloppy because again it reflects poorly on them if you get a certain way, if you drink too much. Um,
And there are
but the
always,
one thing,
sorry, there are always other
yeah,
guests that are not related at
yes.
all, and it will reflect towards them if they have never, like, it may be somebody's last ball and they've brought their
Yeah.
parents, and this is the only
Yeah.
thing they've ever come to. So remember that too.
Here's the cool thing that I absolutely love. And because my birthday is literally right around the Marine Corps birthday, I was thrown off when I was wished a happy birthday the first time I went to the Marine Corps ball. Like they wished me a happy birthday.
Hmm.
And I was like, thank you. And Jeremy's like, no, no, like it's everyone does that.
Everyone,
And so I was like,
yeah,
oh, that's really cool. So it's my favorite thing now. Like every time I run into a Marine or bump into a Marine or see a Marine, I'm like, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday,
yes,
happy birthday. Because I think that that's like the coolest thing ever. They're all so excited to be there and like wish each other happy
yeah.
birthday. And they have their barks and their things that they do like as Marines that are so special and unique. So, wish everyone a happy birthday. I think that that's like a super fun thing.
I do love that. I love it so much because as much as it's for them, a lot of the spouses, like, it's the one time that we get to celebrate everything that we essentially put up with every day,
Yeah.
right? Like we do. Did we choose this? Oftentimes a lot of us chose this life in some form. We either went in with our husbands or we chose our husband after he was already in, or spouse. Sorry, just any spouse.
Yeah.
Um, but it is the choice we made, and very few times do we get to celebrate it also, but it's celebrating another year that us and all of the spouses before us supported and then were supported by the Marines as well. So I love it when the active Marines get excited to tell me happy birthday. Like they don't just be like happy
Yeah.
birthday. Like I've had some who walk up with like joy radiating from them that I never see, and they're like happy birthday, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, inside, I go, aw. I don't do it to their faces. I tell them happy birthday with just as much excitement. But
Amelia, have you ever
It
taken
really
your
never happened.
kids? Have you ever taken your kids to an adult, like the command ball, or just the kids ball? Because we've only done the kids ball with our kids.
Only the kids ball.
Yeah. I did you guys make that decision intentionally, or like was there ever an option that you considered taking your kids?
Intentional and not. Um, Several balls have like very specifically stated no children.
Mm,
And then Sam doesn't want to take the kids, and I don't necessarily want to either. The ceremony is very long, and our
yeah.
kids are still young. Sitting with a bunch of adults and standing and then like listening to a speaker, and sometimes the speakers are phenomenal and fantastic, and have things that relate to like everyone in the room, not just the Marines. And sometimes it really
Yeah.
only relates to Marines, so my mind kind of wanders. I think is un it's an unfair amount of time to ask them to be like still and quiet and like great for their ages. When Sam was at like, I hesitate to call them grown up units. That's what it is. It's just like very, very like top heavy, I guess we would say. Those I feel like we could take kids too, because everybody slow dances and is home by 10. Like fall ends really early. But then the units that are the large battalions or something, and they have a lot of the young Marines. We don't want to take our kids, not
Yeah.
because they act like animals or they're inappropriate or anything, but it really is an adult event, and adult music is played, and like people act like adults. This is like Sam and I's own opinion, but like at those balls where there's a lot of like just a lot of young Marines, it really is the one night that, yeah, they have to be there. They must go, but it really can be fun for them, and they are allowed to let loose a little bit and all the things.
Mhm.
And asking them to like behave in front of, like, my husband's an officer. They have to behave when the officer's around or whatever. And not that they don't behave when they're not, but I think that they feel like they can't be like kind of as free, you know? So like behave around him and his children.
Yeah.
Sam's always thought that that was kind of unfair to them.
Yeah.
It's like this really is like their night and it's their time to like let loose and all the things and to be like now behave around my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
Maybe we've talked about like when Sam retires,
Doing
bringing
like
them
the
to our
last
last
one.
ball.
Like coming up, like some commands and different groups, they have their ball in October just based on like how
Timing.
many, like how big the base is, the timing, what their things
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
and everything. So like I've seen a lot of questions, and there are so many young parents with little ones. They're like, my husband has to go. I don't trust anyone with my sitter. My baby's new, or I'm gonna have a newborn. Like I'm due like the week before, things like that. And it's just like let your service member go. Don't take
Mm-hmm.
your baby. Don't drag your baby to that because it's an added pressure on you, and you don't know how you're going to feel after recovery. Even if your baby is a month or 2 month old and your baby is awesome, it's still like go, like if you can't afford a sitter and there's no childcare, like let your Marine go, and then like he'll probably just stay for the ceremony and come home, and then you can do like your own thing when they get home and celebrate together. But personally, I feel like it's not a place for children, especially like children under the age of like 10, because once they hit 10, for the most part, there is a level of like maturity and
Mm-hmm.
durability that they could actually last through the entire thing. And then you can have that conversation with them of like, yeah, they get crazy, don't they? Like they're really celebrating and they're excited, and this is how they celebrate. But I like we've only taken our kids to kids balls. We've never taken them. We didn't even take them last year. I mean, we have 5 children, and one of them was very small, so that was part of it. Why they didn't go to our last ball, but because he's still working with Marines, theoretically we could still go. But anyway,
Well,
so
I'm going to just throw a wrench in that entire thing and be the one who took an 8-year-old to the ball by
yeah.
myself. So when we were in Okie the first year, you know, Wyatt left 3 weeks after we got there. He gets home, he finds out he's going back to the States. And we already
Mm-hmm.
had ball tickets, and he's not coming home until 2 days before Thanksgiving. So, like, all right, we have it. And I had not been to a ball in 3 years. I think I'd gone to the ball the year before that, and I'll get to that for the favorite ball stuff. But the entire time we were here in Maryland last time, Maryland is a different situation in that there is a Marine Corps unit, but most people are split up into joint units and then they bring them together just for the ball. And I was pregnant or I had a newborn, like depending on the
Yeah.
time of the year. So I didn't do a ball at all for 3 years, and that was a bummer. Anyway, so we had those tickets and I had Zoe. I was like, I have to go anyway. So I took her at kind of the request of everybody that Wyatt worked with at the time. They're like, just she can come and bring Zoe. And so Zoe loved it. She
Mm-hmm.
actually did really well. And I gave her Wyatt's phone and told her, okay, you can take pictures, but you have to hold it like way down here so you can have your own memories and do whatever it is. We also did not stay. We stayed through the first part because they usually, with music, they don't start off with like the hardcore, like
Right.
grinding music. It's all of the like get people up, whatever is the TikTok, whatever is the line dance, whatever's going to get on the dance floor. So we stayed through the ceremony and she did some of the dancing. And actually, she had a lot of the other Marines, like female Marines, were coming up and like basically shoved me out of the way and danced with her. And then we went
Yeah.
home fairly early so that they could keep doing, whatever they were doing. But even though I did that, I am also of the don't bring your kids to the ball most of the time. Like, so she's asked, when
No.
are we going to go? And both Wyatt and I are like, I don't know. But,
But here,
well,
I would say
so
your situation was totally different though, because you were like your Marine wasn't there, so you were able to focus on her.
that's true.
And I
Well,
think that might be like the big difference. Like, because I feel like I could have done that with any of my kids at that age too. Like, again, it's a maturity level, but like I'm saying an overall like average would be 10 years old, but
yeah.
like based on the kid's maturity. But like
See,
I
I
would
would
still
actually be
feel
scared to take older ones because they know what's happening. And but that's the thing is like she at 8 was oblivious, right? Like
Yeah.
people jumping around, like she just sees people jumping around to fun music and they don't have, like, they're just
Yeah.
whatever. She doesn't remember all of the details, but she remembered how much she liked it that she asked if she can go back. And we have never been in a place that has been doing a children's ball that we could go to. Um,
Hmm.
and that's been the hardest thing, honestly, is like either they don't make the children's balls large enough in numbers to be able to support everybody, or people just don't do it. And so then some people
Yeah.
are stuck with, well, if I want this experience for my kids, we have to go to a full on one. If you're bringing your
Yeah.
kids, you might leave early. Like, don't stay until the end because that's when, like, they're wanting to play. Like if it's your last ball and you're
Gets
going
real
to do that,
wild.
yeah, it does get real wild. But I would
Hmm.
I would still stick, even though I'm one who actually brought my child by myself to the ball. I would also stick with the don't take your kids to the ball, at least not if you're planning to stay through the whole thing.
Let's move into our favorite ball. Like I have two, and I've mentioned them already. It was my 7-inch heels, and like I loved that dress, and it was a super fun ball, and we had friends there. And then the other one was where they did the presentation of the uniforms. Like those two for drastically different reasons. And then of course my very first ball the night he proposed because that was super fun. But um, you know, Southern California and Okinawa, which is actually no, I did go to some in Yuma, but those are the most fun for me. So how about you guys?
I guess I'll say mine because Billy's thinking. Um, so for me, my two favorite were our two school balls.
Mm,
They were the TBS ball and EWS ball because especially when you get to EWS, they don't have any underlings. Like there's nobody there that they, are in charge of a unit for that year. So it's a ball that all of the Marines can just let loose. And that was the most fun because we didn't do anything too crazy, but it was just everybody being goofy and having fun. And those were the most fun for the spouses and for the Marines, I feel like, because it just seemed like there was a mantle that was lifted off of their shoulders and they were able to actually let loose. Do you have a favorite ball?
It's probably the ball we went to last time because we took our friends. Um, I typically do not enjoy the ball because I never know anyone
Oh,
at the
yeah.
ball. But my favorite ball was when we took our friends, and they're in the Air Force. We took two of our friends, like couple friends. Funnily enough, they're both in the Air Force, and they were like, "We've never been to Marine Corps ball. We want to go to Marine Corps ball."
Right.
And we took them, and it was like that was so much fun. And it was because we were with our friends, not necessarily like the ball was great. The command did a really, really good job with it. I don't want to like say like it was only because of our friends were there. The command really did a fantastic job. The speaker was like he gave a really actually nice speech. It was very like efficient. He didn't drone on for 3 hours, all the
Mm.
things. It was a good ball, but it was the best ball because we had our friends there.
I'm glad that you had
but
that experience last year. Hopefully you have a good one
mm,
this year.
mhm.
We'll see.
So every year the command raises money, and that's how they put on the ball. And they buy gifts for every single person. Everything from challenge coins, which if you're not affiliated with the military, we'll have to go into that in a whole other time. But challenge coins are a thing. So they'll do those. I've had glasses and mugs and beer steins. Good morning. And blankets and plates and chopstick rests and a really cool like acrylic
Oh, yeah, the
thing with
little
Iwo Jima sand.
sand. Yeah.
Yeah. In Okinawa, everybody pretty much gets the same gift from
Yeah,
all of
unless
all
the
across the
You
board.
units
all get the
like
same gift because MCCS controls the gift.
yeah, unless the
Exactly.
unit does
MCCS has
something very specific for just
right.
themselves.
But as far as like other locations, I'm trying to think of anything super unique. I wasn't impressed with the plates. The blankets were cool when MCCS did it, but then they had so many that they
Yeah.
were literally just like giving 10 out to every family.
They're like those tapestry blankets. I can't think of another word for them besides calling it a tapestry blanket. It's the only thing I can think of. But with the fringe around the side and, all kinds of stuff. But they came in a box that like tied. And we did that. But the year before, they did Moscow Mule mugs. And the one thing that I would like to do is take our mugs, because they put the Marine Corps emblems on the front. I would like to take our mugs in and have the emblem from the unit engraved on the back, so that we have something specific, because that was the downers. Like, most of the time in the States, you get a gift that is specific to your unit because that's who you're going to the birthday with. But last year, here you don't, because it's all Marine Corps and we're at a joint base. And so they're pulling all the Marines from any unit, whether it's a Marine unit or a joint one, putting them together. And I think we got coin bottle openers, which is,
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
yeah, they're pretty cool. I was trying to think if we had one nearby that I could like look at it, but I don't think we have one nearby. Yeah.
Ryugu glass would be a really cool Okinawa like birthday ball gift, actually. But I think Christmas ornaments like from the ball would be super cool. I thought the chopsticks with the chopstick rest was really cool. It was a little bit different and outside the box, but
that was obviously after I left. I would have taken that. That was cool.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. But yeah, so I mean, there are some cool gifts if you put a lot of thought into it, but they accumulate over the years.
No.
I
Okay.
think we all know how I feel about stuff.
Yes. So we'll move on.
I guess what happens to the Marine gifts that come into my house.
So we'll move on. And Amelia, you can start us off on what people may not know. Marine Corps Ball Edition.
You may not know that the first formal birthday ball took place in Philadelphia in 1925.
1925. The Marine Corps.
I didn't realize it was that late.
No, I didn't either. But I guess it kind of makes sense. I would love to know the location on that. I'll go look that up later because I'd love to know its first location. The Marine Corps was founded in Tun Tavern in Philly on November 10th, 1775. And they still do a giant birthday, shut down the streets and everything in its like location. It's not there anymore, but down in that area.
That's why bars and drinking is such a big part of the Marine Corps, honestly.
It literally was part of its birth.
Exactly. They were born in a bar, back to the lowest morals. It's a big, big thing for the Marine Corps. It's basically a holiday right before Veterans Day. Like, it kicks off the holiday season. It is huge. But if you're looking for an even more like detailed, comprehensive list, the Marine Corps Association has a website with everything that you'll need as far as dress and etiquette and different things, like what to expect and like the process. So if you know any Marines, wish everyone a happy birthday. They'll really appreciate it. Like, it's special.
On another side note, there's always also a birthday workout that is posted, and if they don't do the workout, which usually comes out to equal out 1775, if it's not that, then it's burpees for the number of years, and this year it is 249.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and yet I do it every year.
Yeah, well, you're a very, very good Marine Corps spouse. No. Thank you for listening today. Let us know if we left anything out. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen so you never miss an episode. And follow us at the Virtual Compound Podcast on Facebook, Instagram to stay up to date and find additional content.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday.